Okay, call the meeting to order. Please call the roll, sir. Carl Floyd. Ava Coleman.
Present.
Richard Moss.
Present.
Daniel Gray. Here. Ron McDaniel.
Present.
Jim Moore. Here. Dana Tony.
Here.
LaConda Watson.
Here.
All here except for Carl Floyd. I don't know if he's on the phone.
He sent an email that he wasn't gonna make it.
Okay, very
Last
good.
minute.
All right, if you will join me as we stand for the pledge, followed by a moment of silence.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I think I got that backwards. I was saying pledge for, I'm not, my fault.
No problem.
I was gonna say first.
It's short.
I messed up.
It's short.
It's okay.
My apologies.
Forgive you.
All right. Dr. Duffy, staff recognitions first on the agenda.
Yes, first, this is Teacher and Staff Appreciation Week across the nation for schools. And I have posted on the screen something recently posted by a parent that really, in my opinion, says it all of how we feel about our staff and what has been shown through the last 12 plus months. Look there. There are various activities planned through the week, and attended lunch at Bamita today, and there'll be other things through the week that schools are doing, but we definitely appreciate the efforts all of our educators and support staff have done for our scholars and our schools and our community. Wanted to acknowledge that today.
I agree.
All right. Mr. Rick Crone, will you step forward, please? I know I saw you here. Come on up here and get on camera over here. Put some information on the screen that Mr. Crone is a finalist to be an Arkansas Classroom Hero. He was nominated by a parent or multiple parents, I'm not sure, and did not know this was even out there. And he was surprised by it as well. And so through Fox 16, Channel 4, and Steve Lander's group, he's already received or will receive a $250 award and $250 for Lester Elementary. And there's voting taking place. Him and a teacher from North Little Rock and a teacher from Conway are finalists, and voting is going on right now online through May 15th. And there's what the winner will receive along with what the school will receive. So really appreciate Mr. Crone for being that educator that a lot of parents appreciate, a lot of scholars appreciate. Anything you want to say, sir?
I don't like the limelight, but now that I'm in, I want to win it for us.
Right.
Okay? This is good for Jacksonville, for the school district, for the school, for the kids, and the school board. And I'm in first place right at the
The
moment.
last I checked, he was up over 100 votes.
Yeah. But it's a long, 2-week season here, so
That's
if you all
right.
would call in and hit that, you hit the heart, and we appreciate it.
What, vote early, vote often, is that?
Yeah. Once a day,
Maybe, I don't know.
or twice a day, with some different IP addresses. So,
I see.
Congratulations.
thank you. We appreciate it all.
Yeah, thank you, Mr.
Dr. Duffy,
Yes.
can you email us that email address so we can vote?
Yes,
Okay,
yes. That way you get the link and then you can go from there. Yes,
thank you.
we can do that. All right, our monthly staff recognitions, and we may have one or two, we may not have everyone here tonight, but this is our brag on the Titan, monthly recognition from staff nominations. So first is Sonia Campbell from Jacksonville Middle. I don't think she is here tonight. She's family consumer science teacher. There's a few things that her colleagues said about her from her nomination. some of the teachers commented she helps, especially in stressful situations. Helps staff. Okay, that's Sonia Campbell. Yeah, you can go ahead, please. Karen Romer at Dupree. I don't think she's here. There's a few things said about her colleagues. All right. Sherry Brown, come on up here. No, you come right front and center, Miss Brown. Come on, come on. Come here. She's done an amazing job. And there's a few things that her colleagues have said about her. And one notable thing I'll remember we asked teachers to do videos of encouragement for scholars during the pandemic, and she did an outstanding one and is a great singer.
No.
Did not realize that.
No.
And dressed up and did a cheerful song, and so a good message for the scholars. So appreciate her support of Jacksonville Middle and our school district. Anything you want to say?
Sir?
Can we get a few notes on that?
Oh, no, sir. One time.
Anything you want to say, Ms. Brown?
Leadership starts with y'all and trickles down. And since I've been here with the school district, it's been a wonderful experience for me, and I appreciate the leadership that y'all give, which encourages me and empowers me as a school teacher and as a leader for my scholars. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Brown. Okay, and then last, Gary Beck. And I don't think he is here tonight, but he had several nominations, and there's a list of what colleagues said about him, and he's assistant principal at Lister. All right. And
Can I let him in?
sure.
Never mind.
And let him in on this.
I don't know if they're really want me to.
Yep. And the next item is for Mr. Gray.
School board meeting. Well, this is the May school board meeting, and we've got two of our board members that are not going to be continuing on. So if Mr. Honda Watson will join me up here, we've got a special presentation for you. So it says, presented to Ms. LaConda Watson with deep appreciation and distinguished and unselfish service given while serving on the Board of Education in Jacksonville North Classic School District 2015 through 2021. So, from the very beginning,
The box.
Dr. Moss.
You had both shots, right?
Huh?
You had both shots. Both shots.
Oh, yes. Fully vaccinated, yes. Same thing, with deep appreciation, distinguished and unselfish service given while serving on the Board of Education of Jacksonville North Classic School District 2021. Yes. You want a bag for it?
No, fine.
But on behalf of myself, I just want to say thank y'all for serving, school board members. You know, it's a thankless job, lots of drama, lots of stress, and the pay is not real good. But
I hear it's doubling next year.
yeah, appreciate what y'all do. And anybody else want to say anything to them?
I've enjoyed working with both of you, and look forward to hearing about you and your future endeavors.
I just want to thank, I appreciate you guys because, you know, we all know the work that goes into these board meetings and special sessions. And thank you for putting your community first during this time. Thank you for your service.
That's great.
And I appreciate both of you because we spent a lot of time together, a lot of late nights, working hard to make this school district go. And you guys have contributed a lot to this. We're going to miss you.
Wish you the very best in the future. Thank you for your service.
All right, I don't think you guys will be strangers.
Looking forward to the future. What you guys are gonna do.
All right, next item, is that all the recognition, sir?
Yes, that is.
All right, so that brings us to our facilities update. Who would like to go first?
Tony's gonna get the actual update, so I'm just here
Russ, come on
for,
down.
you have any questions?
Be happy to get it. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
We are let's make sure I got four. We are 4 short weeks away from starting to move furniture into the middle school. Just so everybody knows. We have really been hitting some good strokes over here in the last couple of weeks. There's a lot going on at both middle school and elementary. The big deal is the furniture starting. We've been coordinating with the middle school principal and vice principal. In fact, I think they were on the site today walking through with part of my staff and trying to get geared up for this move that's going to take place here pretty shortly. Inside the building, basically, if you walk through the middle school, we'll talk about this in a minute, but as far as a board walkthrough, you see lots of colors, a lot of finishes going on. We're starting to drop the ceiling tile, the border tile around all the areas where we got the ceiling grid in. A lot of mechanical, electrical, and plumbing finish out going on. The guys are finishing up the polishing of the floor. We've got the glass aggregate and the concrete. They're working on that. A lot of tile in the bathrooms in, looks really good. The kitchen's really, really sharp. Kitchen and cafeteria is really, really sharp. They've had the wood flooring in for the last couple of weeks in the gymnasium to acclimatize, and so they've started the installation there. We've got it coordinated where we're going to finish out a part of that to allow for early install on the bleachers instead of waiting until that's all complete first. So they've been working through that really, really good. The elevator's in. We're ready. We've got some changes I think we're doing to the walls or something in front of it. But anyway, that's installed, ready to go. Everything is going really, really good. We should start, weather permitting, we should start irrigation next week. I know we've had to put that off because of the bad weather, but if we're lucky, we'll start the exterior irrigation followed by the landscaping. We got to pull a trailer out and put another drive in. Our trailer's right in the way, so that's in the coming weeks. A lot of casework. Like I said, a lot of finishes. The clocks are on the wall, the smart boards. There's quite a bit going on in the classrooms now, so it's starting to look finished. Grading on the outside, like I said, we've got a lot done on the west elevation. We've got to pour a dumpster pad here in the next couple of days, and then we can start finishing up the asphalt and the concrete up around the building. So that'll get finished here very shortly. Switching to the elementary, the biggest deal has been trying to get that totally enclosed. We've got a roof on it now. They'll have to finish it over the parapet cap, but the roof is on the entire building. Inside, they've got a lot of framing going on throughout. It was one big open space, and now it's starting to tighten up with individual rooms. And they framed up the stage in the cafeteria or in the gym. And all of that's starting to take shape right now too. It's moving really quickly. We're dropping in windows where we can, and on both projects, we got a little bit of masonry, a couple of weeks worth of masonry left on the middle school, and a little bit more on the elementary, but it's all going really, really well. We're still on track for opening on time on both facilities. So, you know, like I said, if we can get a break from the weather, we can finish up more of our outside work in short order. But the good thing is we're starting to move into the warmer time of year where that's not the weather's not as big a problem. So that's about what we've got. I think we're gonna move the teachers' boxes in second week in July. Like I said, furniture starts June 1st on the first floor, and then June 15th on the second floor in middle school.
All right.
Any questions?
Questions?
We were thinking of Monday evening for a tour for the board. That might be easier.
Mondays work a lot of times, and I think we're
What's it, 2 days? 17th or the 24th, I guess, well, Mondays.
We can accommodate whatever you want. It's after hours would be best, then we don't have to do the hard hats, and I'll have it all cleaned up. We shouldn't have any issues. We could even, if you'd like, we
no,
can
I'm
take
thinking
it
to
to
the
the
Mondays and Wednesdays, a lot of times we do these type of things, but times, but
Monday and Wednesday, on the 17th.
Yeah, that's
17th or
17th.
24th, just to,
Mondays, Monday,
Either's good with me.
Monday be a good time.
Either is fine with me.
I don't. Okay. We want to go at night, or would you rather go during the day?
Or it's fine.
Or early afternoon, like 4?
What time can you go though?
Whatever you have to
Okay, good.
Early. Can we do early afternoon, like 4 o'clock or
You
something?
do whatever you want. Most of my workers start leaving around 3:30, and we start locking the gates up at
I
5.
mean, evenings are best for meetings, but when we don't have to meet in the evening.
yeah, we don't have to, no, it's not a, I need a walkthrough.
Okay.
You want to do 4 o'clock on which date, or does it matter?
17th.
17th, okay.
4 o'clock, 17th, done.
Do we want to, do we just come to the site, or do we want to meet somewhere and then go to the site together? How does that, is there room for all of us to pull in there? Or?
By that time, you ought to be able to pull in our east gate behind our trailers and park right there in that gravel, and then we can walk you out across the site. We'll
Is that the
probably,
elementary side or the?
it's on actually the elementary site, it's behind my office trailers. back
We'll
there.
send you an invite with a little
Yeah.
map
Just
on
right
our
off
part.
that.
Can you set up a limo to pick us up?
Yeah.
I can have somebody intercept you out there and guide you to
Maybe
wherever
it's-
you need
maybe
to
it's
go.
school bus.
Not a problem.
Yeah.
treats in the limo.
Yeah.
Not a
Can do
problem,
that,
not a
okay.
problem.
All right. And
Thank
can we reach out to all the candidates for the school board and make sure they're invited?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. No questions? Moving right along. Reports. Dr. Duffy, superintendent's report.
I have a brief report. I've got enrollment for May, 3,664 students, K-12, pre-K 202. And you kind of see kind of the impact of the pandemic. Been hearing lots of word of a lot more kids coming back on site for next year, so I would be hopeful that that will increase for next year. Legislative update, the session is over. I know Ms. Watson is happy, and I am as well. And so at ASBA tomorrow, that conference will be a presentation of as many of the acts as they can get to. And so once I have that document, I will send that to you. All the legislative acts has been passed that affects education. And even a few other issues with financial facilities that may be indirectly affecting schools. Of course, lots of social issues this session, more so than I've ever seen. And, just the time that we're in right now. So not to say good or bad, just that was a dominant issue during the session. But I will have that information to you soon, hopefully after tomorrow.
Did they do anything to change the funding for the numbers that we have? Did they just decide to leave the numbers?
Good question. Okay, you're talking about hold harmless. Hold harmless was dropped because of the flexibility in the federal ESSER money, that if you have budget shortfalls, you can use some of that money to help make up that difference. So for example, Jacksonville receives some declining enrollment funding next year based on the numbers. However, that's only it's a little less than half of what you would receive in foundation. So you can make up the other half with this federal money. And so you don't really take a hit. So the state decided to say, well, now that there's not that supplant mechanism as part of the ESSER funding, then we don't need a whole harness, and it's gonna be temporary anyway. So the next couple of years, that can be used for budget shortfalls. So it should be good there. As far as ESSER update, there's more guidance coming out every day. Various explanations on uses of funds, just more explanation of what we already know. So that will help guide future purchases. Right now, we're looking at, Kevin's put a PO in, starting to really look at replacement technology and what needs to be replaced, look at losses, damages, and what do we need to order to replace. So that's in process now, just to review. That's all I have.
Very good. Any questions? Okay, all right. Dr. Vaughn.
I have a question. And where are we with Anita in those rooms that we were looking at?
I've talked with Kevin Stallnaker. We've given Intech the go-ahead this summer to do those 7 classrooms, moving the carpet and the tile. And my guess is he's here that those rooms will be all concrete floor, like we did at Taylor, from my understanding. Okay, yes, he's shaking his head, yes. So yes, that's in process.
Thank you.
That's in process.
Good evening. It's another great day to be a Titan, and I am standing before you with a short report today, but I do want to draw your attention to a couple of things. Some things that are not on the report. One is that this week is Teacher Appreciation Week. So I encourage you to reach out and appreciate our teachers, because as we all know, this has been a different kind of year, and they have been resilient. They have thrived. They have done better than what anyone could have imagined. It's been a wonderful year for them, and we really want to appreciate them for being as resilient as they have been. I also want to point out that we have a special graduation coming up on this coming Saturday. Next Saturday. This Saturday is Mother's Day weekend. So next Saturday, and we have about 230 graduates right now. We have an additional few who are making it all the way to Friday to the finish line. Friday's the last day for them to graduate, and then I'll be able to have some final numbers for you. So if you need any more information about graduation, I can have Ms. Biggs stand up and help you at the end of the presentation. I also want to point out.
Is there any changes on the tickets, or is that all still, with all the changes that have happened? I've had a few questions, but that's all still 5
Still
tickets?
at 5 tickets, yes, sir.
And outside
Outside
weather
at the,
permit, if not, we're gonna move it inside.
that's exactly right.
Graduation tickets inside, is that right? Split up.
Yes, yeah, that was Plan B.
Mhm.
Plan A was really 2 ceremonies outside,
But we
but
got
then
it
with
to
some of
one.
the capacity increases, we could do 1. And Plan D will be 3 ceremonies indoors, spread out over that day.
Like we did in the past. I want to point out on page 7, the Medicaid reimbursement. If you'll look at that, that number keeps going up, and I have to say, you need to thank Ms. Darrington for that. I think you all did thank her, we hired her. And so I do want to point out those efforts, because this is a lot more money than we've ever gotten in the past, and it just keeps increasing. So that's something I wanted you to be sure to pay close attention to. And another thing that's not on here, please be on the lookout for invitations. We're changing up the way that we're going to do our end of the year, Teacher of the Year and Employee of the Year celebration this year. And we have some invitations coming for you for some surprise presentations that will occur here at Jacksonville High School. We will also do our recognition of retirees on that same day. So I'd like to thank Ms. Coleman for her service on that board to help us to plan all of that. So that concludes my report, unless you have questions.
Dr. Bowman?
Yes, sir.
Have we received any word at all from the federal judge on the desegregation?
We have not. We will keep you updated though as we hear.
I would not expect a ruling before middle of fall, if then. So that will be about a year, and I would expect October-ish for a ruling. I talked to Scott about that, but that's what I'm thinking.
Very good. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Great job on getting testing done. That's been a challenge.
It's been great. and you just we have to praise our district and our district testing coordinator, Ms. Renee Parker, and our building testing coordinators. They've done the work. They have really done a lot of work in calling people and making sure that we get the kids up there to test, especially our virtual scholars. But thank you, Dr. Moss.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate you. All right, next item we've got is the consent agenda. Is there anything in the minutes or financial report that needs to be pulled out for discussion? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve as presented.
Mr. President, we have one change on the consent agenda. The date is April 4th, April 5th.
All right. So on the minutes, it was April the 5th.
No, on our end.
Yeah, April, it was April the 5th, right?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Thank you, sir, good catch. All right, with that change to April the 5th. Do I hear a motion?
Somebody, second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that passes. Title 6B assurances.
Yes, on page 32, this is an annual approval required by the Department of Education and the Fed that basically says we will spend special education dollars as we budget within the regs. Ms. Darrington can probably answer questions if you have any. That we're not going to hire lobbyists to go to Washington and do all kinds of stuff, that we're going to spend the money as we say we spend. So, of course, special ed dollars are never, it's not enough to fund your whole program, and it's not meant to do that. You still have to put in state and local dollars to support special ed. So that's what these assurances are for. So I'd recommend approval as presented.
All right, I'll make that motion to, District Superintendent is recommending special education.
What he said.
Yeah, what he said.
Second.
Signatures will be required after.
Okay. All right, we've got a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that passes unanimously. Thank you, sir. All right, next item, we've got our architect and construction manager selection process for Taylor and Biomeda projects. Dr. Duff.
That's on page 41, and this is solely your call. You have not formally hired firms for the last two schools. Your action last time was just for the middle school and Jacksonville Elementary. So we're at a point after I met with Dr. Stein and Dr. Owa, he was part of that conversation a couple of weeks ago. Some decisions, whether it's today or soon, some decisions do need to be made about moving forward with planning and specs at some point for these projects. And so you have two options as far as moving forward that Dr. Stein will need to know. Either you begin the process for request for qualifications and go through that process with those qualification proposals, select firms to interview, and select a qualified firm. This is for architect and construction manager. Or you continue with the same firms that you have on these projects. It's solely your choice. Don't necessarily have to make a decision tonight. However, with funding decisions May 1/22, time is of the essence at some point.
I have a question about the next one. I'll wait for number 7. But is there any comments or thoughts on number 6? Yeah, I just keep on moving.
Yeah. Did we move the time up? We're going to start the other two schools.
That's number 7. You're getting ahead.
Oh, okay, sorry about that.
Make a motion, we approve the hiring of the same architect and construction manager that completed the previous projects.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Any discussion, questions, thoughts? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, so we have 1 nay and the rest yeses. So the motion passes. All right. So next item is submission for early start application for plans and specs for Taylor and Biomeda. Dr. Duff.
Okay, this one might be a little more complex conversation in some ways. May 1 of 22, you will learn of funding for Taylor Biomeda. Right now, the current status has been out there previously is replacement was approved for Biomeda, but it's not funded. Demolition was approved. It was not approved for Taylor. But there was some funding set aside that, well, there's some things we see you could improve the building, so a lesser amount. We've run through all the administrative appeals. So Scott Richardson's working on motion for Judge Marshall. So it's kind of in that area, getting close to being in that area. So in anticipation of funding, you can do it, and we've done this before, you can do an application for early start. Because then if you are funded, and let's say within the next 12 months, get a favorable ruling, and it's funded for complete replacement, then you're ready to go after May 1, 2022, because once funding's approved, you have 60 days to sign the construction agreement with the state before you start your project. So if you haven't done any planning ahead of time, I don't know, Russ might be able to pull it off in 60 days, but you know, that's a tall order for Russ and TC to do. Now, Taylor and Bobby are year 2 projects. Year 1 was just funded. The allocation from the state is $90 million annually. Okay. Year 2 has a lot fewer projects, and Taylor and Bobby are part of it. Looking at the approved list now, if the 90 million stays, and I'm pretty confident, so is Dr. Stein, that those projects will be funded, but only at the current levels. If you can't find land near the multi-purpose building for Biomeda, we're being penalized for that multi-purpose building. So that's another issue. Then if you can't find land near there, then you can't utilize that building. So that's a whole other thing that Scott he's going to include there. But once the state allocates that money, funds all the year 2 projects, usually there's money left over, and the state goes back and starts funding year 1 projects that did not get funded the first time until that money's used up. And according to the state list that was released, there will be leftover funds that they will use to fund year 1 projects, at least the list that was released last week. So that's kind of where we are on these buildings now. Because of the confidence Dr. Stein has that there will be funding at some level, I mean, I would recommend going ahead and do early start. There's going to be some expense. I would recommend being ready than trying to scramble in 60 days to get ready.
When can the early start application be submitted?
It can be submitted tomorrow.
Immediately. So here's my concern is, so we've got the money for Biomeda, but we don't know where we're gonna build it. We know where we're gonna build Taylor, but we don't have the money. So you've got 2 major issues at both places. We've got Dr. Owa coming on July 1. My suggestion is we have a workshop to address this issue immediately in July sometime, with Scott Richardson there, Dr. Stein there, because I think without money, I think we can find a place at Biomeda, but without money, we can't build Taylor. So I think, personally, I think we need to be pushing Judge Marshall, or requesting from Judge Marshall to give us directions. The state's answer is not acceptable, and I'm sure all of our opinions. So
I agree.
So I don't see how we can start early and plan a school if you don't have the money, and then I don't know how you can plan a school if you don't know the topography or the geographical location of where it's going to be. I think we got to address those 2 things before we.
And even if you apply for early start, it doesn't mean you start immediately. You just give approval that at whatever point you want to start, you got the authorization. So, but even looking at July, I think, to me, that's feasible as well.
Okay. You need to wait until July to do that. We do it in June.
Jeremy, you got any comments or thoughts?
When we met and discussed it, I definitely saw the value of applying for the application, considering the fact that we're not held to starting the plan right when we submit an application. So depending on what would happen within the next few months, I think it's a wise decision to go and moving ahead and allowing the district to have that option to start the planning whenever we may receive a favorable decision from Judge Marshall.
So is that, we would need a motion and approval to do that?
To do the application. And Dr. Stein would submit that, and then we're kind of just on our timetable how we want to do that.
What if we submit the application, and don't get funded?
Well, this is just for early start.
This is the early start.
You won't know funding until May 1 of next year.
Anything we spend basically is out of pocket, right?
Yeah, if you spend anything to try.
But will we be penalized if if for some reason we don't have the funds, or we're not able to do it at that time?
Well, if it's an approved partnership project, what both of these are, you can still be reimbursed for allowable expenditures once you start the project. So even if you early start, all those will be reimbursable at the 40-some% rate that the state has approved.
Right. So I'd entertain a motion to go ahead and submit that for early start.
I make a motion to go ahead and submit this for early start.
Second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor? Opposed? All right, that passes unanimously. And then first, middle of July after the holiday and all that stuff, let's first workshop, up new school board in place and new administration in place, and we'll tackle that project. And you guys can make sure you guys are available as well.
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay. All right, next item we've got is a student disciplinary action. I believe this is uncontested. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, that is correct. Yeah. Some of it's on card style or something. All right, the recommendation is to expel the student for 2 semesters. The student will be eligible to return in January of 2022 and will be placed on 2 semesters of probation upon return.
Recommendation from Dr. Duffy. Do I hear a motion? Second. Motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Passes unanimously. All right, next item on our agenda is personnel, and before we do that, we've got an addendum before us. I need a motion to add the addendum to the agenda.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, the addendum is added. All right, now we've got personnel before us. I would remind everybody, any discussion on personnel must be held in executive session.
Motion to go to executive session.
All right, we will move into executive session to discuss personnel.
The one that's in the bag.
Yeah, I got it.
You'll be just
Okay, back in open session, call meeting back to order. Personnel is the next item on our agenda. Dr. Duffy, do you have some recommendations for us?
Yes, I do. You have a listing on page 44 of licensed personnel and classified personnel recommended for hire for next school year. I recommend that is approved as presented.
All right. Moved. Motion?
Second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Okay, next set is a listing of retirements and resignations and job abandonment. And I recommend those are approved as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, it passes.
Okay. Next listing is a contract termination and non-renewals. Recommend those are approved as presented.
Your motion?
I make a
So
motion.
moved. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Next listing are licensed staff contract renewals for next year. Recommend those are approved as presented.
All right, do I hear a motion? So moved. Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Final recommendations on the addendum. I am making these recommendations on Dr. Owen's behalf. And the recommendation is to hire Dr. Janice Walker, Mr. Bobby Lester as assistant superintendents for Jacksonville North Classical. Recommend approval as presented.
So moved. Second. Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Nobody's opposed. Congratulations. Dr. Walker and Mr. Lester here with us. If you guys want to come on up and introduce yourselves, and we know yet, but y'all want to say a few words? Dr. Owen, I'm going to leave you out.
Well, and Dr. Walker just said that. Are you going with us? But, President, Superintendent, School Board, community, I'm pleased to offer the recommendation. I appreciate your vote of confidence in these two leaders. Well, first of all, with me in recommending these outstanding educators. I know they bring a wealth of expertise, knowledge, but more importantly, a love for our community, for our students. And I know that the district will go far with Dr. Walker and Mr. Lester. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Y'all want to say anything? You're more than welcome. I think it's a pretty good job for y'all.
Well, as you all know, I'm very grateful to be standing here, and I appreciate Dr. Orr for having the confidence in me and for the board to making this final. And I've been here since the foundation, so I feel like I'm a part of this great big foundation where we see our scholars grow and achieve. And so I think just serving in this position that I will be able to continue with some of the systems that have been established, because there are some great systems here that's in place. And serving in this position, I'll be able to work with this great team and build on those systems and continue to move our scholars forward.
I too, I'm absolutely blessed for the opportunity from Jacksonville. Jacksonville is my home. I can say this, I've been here a long time. I've eaten at both Minutemans. So it's a long time. So, but my heart is here. I was a principal here for many years, and I'm glad to be home. I'm glad to be a Titan, and I'm truly blessed for the opportunity, and I appreciate it very much.
Thank Thank you very much, sir. With that's the last thing on our agenda.
Make a motion to adjourn.
We are adjourned. You're against it?
All right. Thank you, Ms. Walker.
Hey, you get to keep this? Are they ours?
Those are yours. You get